With the current tariffs about to make people's lives even harder than before, and President Limp Dick over here doing exactly what he's been doing since he took office, we really need to introspect on our role as citizens as we watch a small group of dinosaurs run this country to the ground. Welcome to the venting space. South Africa is such a bad country, man. As a whole, it's just a bad country. Not that there are any good countries. I don't really know how we're top 5 most recognizable countries to the rest of the world. I think it's all down to our name being a geographical location. They ask rappers, actors, famous people, oh, what's your favorite country or what's your favorite place in Africa? And they think about it to make it seem like there's many other countries that they remember before finally landing to South Africa. Such a cop-out. But don't get me wrong, I love South Africa. Wouldn't trade it for any other place in Africa or Asia. What I love most about South Africa is the people. The people of South Africa. Not the rappers, soapy stars, or politicians. The people. The ones on ground zero. You know why? Because they get shit done. They really do. I remember a few years back when Trevor Noah made a stand-up bit about how each race had its part to play in making South Africa. It was something along the lines of white people knowing how to complain and people of color knowing how to take those complaints and make them into something of note. That something is protest. And that's what I like about South Africa. The protests. They seem unique to South Africa in a way. Maybe it's the energy, the spirits, the rhythm that goes into it. I don't really know. But what I do know is other countries just don't do it like us. America has tried its fair share of protests, but very rarely do they ever get anywhere. I know France has had a few protests over the years. Zimbabwe has had a few protests. They finally got Mugabe out. Nigeria is doing their protest against SARS. I hope it ends well and their human rights are respected. But South Africa hasn't been doing so well when it comes to protests as of late. I'd say we're off the ball more than Bafana Bafana trying to qualify for a tournament. Any tournament. We really are. We've been silent, and maybe it's because COVID hit us hard and we couldn't gather in large numbers like we used to. But it's safe now. Maybe, kind of. We can all come out and fight the real evil that's plaguing South Africa. To the people of South Africa, I ask this question of you. We've protested for a lot. The fall of Zuma, the fall of school fees, service delivery, amongst other things. Why, for fuck's sake, have we not come together and protested against load shedding? Every year, we've been protesting about something, and that never comes up on the agenda of things to protest about. The taxi owners strike every other week, and we can't find the time to schedule in a protest about load shedding? Come on, guys. It's been around 2007. That's 15 years. 15 years ago, we had a president denying people with HIV their medication like a mad scientist. Heck, that was 2 presidents ago. We need to have a real conversation about Eskom. It's getting worse and worse. It's affecting our daily lives more and more. I just had load shedding, so I decided to take a walk to escape the dystopia that we find ourselves in. And yes, it is a dystopia. We're living in dystopian times. The Netherlands just experienced their own power outages, and they are in pieces from what I've heard. Think about it for real. In the movies, the power always goes out. That's when you know it's bad. Wi-Fi is down, no signal, just you and the zombies. The power goes out for longer than a week and shit starts looking like Mad Max. We get load shedding, our power goes out and we go on with our lives. It's normal. It's so normal that when I went on my walk, I could use it as a conversation starter with this beautiful young lady. She's looking down. I sit next to her. I say, damn, what's a beautiful lady like you doing here alone? Classic, I know. She laughs dryly. I follow it up with, damn, why are you so sad? She answers that she has stage 4. And I'm like, same. That's why I'm out here soaking up sun, getting the vitamin C. She says it's been really tough and it's affecting her family, her home, her work. I comfort her about it and we get a good talk going. Eventually, I have to leave, so I ask for a number. I get it. A few days later, she sends me a message saying it's really good to have opened up to a stranger about her fight with cancer. It's bad. I can't even think about stages without thinking of load shedding. Eskom is turning 100 this year, since it all started all the way back in 1923. It started off great, and the relationship with South Africa started off amazing. We beat everyone else in Africa to streetlights. The first chairman of Eskom wrote that it is his endeavor to play his part as pioneer to foresee the needs of a country fast developing, and by wise anticipation, always be ready to provide power wherever it may be required. Oh boy, if only the white first chairman could see South Africa today. The amount of people of color walking around would not be the only thing to disappoint him. In 1983, the country was going through a massive drought. And you know these big boys need water in order to function and work. Hydration is as important to power plants as tomatoes are kwipisto. The crisis was eventually avoided with heavy rainfall and dams. But this didn't stop outside scrutiny, people. One American consultant who did a report on Eskom wrote in 1983 that Eskom That's right, Eskom. No matter how tough it gets, deliver on your promises. He then goes on to write that the way that they were going about their businesses would one day lead to extreme customer dissatisfaction. Eskom was scammed. They hired an American consultant and got a fortune teller instead. That's it. I'm starting my conspiracy theory that time travel exists. I am starting my conspiracy theory that time travel exists. I can hear the white conservatives through the screen. It's probably those blacks who took over in 1994. Well, the power did change in Eskom. It went from a white man with the backing of the apartheid government to, well, a white man with the backing of a new government. So much for the Rainbow Nation back then. It really did go to shit after the appointment of one man in particular, Thabo Mbeki. He had started rumors about privatization amongst companies and saying that secretaries should be able to have sex with their bosses in private and it not be against the law. What? That's not what privatization means? Oh, it's not? This led to Eskom being distracted and not continuing doing their job of putting up more power stations to cope with the new South Africa. This distraction would have detrimental effects and be the reason why load shedding began in 2007. I thought to myself, just how distracting was this rumor? It turns out very distracting because since 1988, there's only been 3 new power stations built. That's 17 power stations for the whole country. The whole country is surviving on 17 power stations. The first one was built in 1961. My mother wasn't even born back then. These things are outdated. The most recent power station was built in 2017. We should be aiming to build one each year, not erecting 17 million rands worth of statues of dead people, a flag that costs millions of rands, and a stadium that only has a stand in it. Their CEO just recently resigned. You guessed it, another white man. Another CEO down, and we still don't have the load shedding issue sorted. Last year alone, we've spent 2,000 hours in the dark or without power. We run the risk of going stage 8 load shedding. I did the math, and when I say I did the math, I just Google how many hours there are in a year. The number is 8,760, and we've spent 2,000 of them in the trenches. We have to do something about this. I think I should be the CEO because the solution is so simple. It's so simple. Just build more power plants. If they don't like the solution, here's another one. How about instead of doing load shedding when everyone else is wide awake at their jobs and home cooking, how about doing load shedding when everyone is asleep? How about that? Why do we wait till peak hour in traffic to have those bitches go off? But I don't know, man. Eskom knows more than me, all right? That's their business. All I'm asking is that we take to the streets knowing the obvious solution and simply protesting for them. We have never, in our years of democracy, protested for load shedding to end. So let's just fuck around and find out what it brings and get these damn dinosaurs out from their seats. Thank you for watching.